Hello friends and welcome to the Weekend Catch-Up Club, the coffee morning show brought to you live every Saturday, direct to Twitch and available later on demand at youtube.com/gamertagged. We had a little bit of a hiatus, but the show is back, and not just back. I am overjoyed that I have a proper official bona fide co-host in Mr. James McClelland. Buddy,
good
welcome.
Morning.
How the heck are you?
Yeah, good. Just trying to remember how to appear in front of people and talk about it. So, you do that thing when you haven't been live for a while or anything, and you do that thing where you sit there and you cannot remember how words, and you suddenly need to cough and sneeze at the same time, and you can't remember how to sit still. So yeah, apart from that, I'm doing good.
Yeah, that usually results in you shitting yourself because you're trying to cough and sneeze at the same time and it comes out the other end.
Yeah, then you somehow turn yourself inside out, and then it's a horrible thing, and you get banned from Twitch. So.
Yeah, how have you been, man? It's been a while since we properly chatted, and you guested on the show loads of times. It's like 4 times I think you've guested on the show, and now you're back for good. Like to take that song.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not put it like that, but yeah, no, I'm good. I've been busy. Or as busy as you get some days when you sat just playing games and doing not much else.
Yep. I understand that well.
But yeah, I've been excited to. I was very, very excited when you asked me, because obviously I always love coming on the show. Plus, I maintain it is the best way to start a Saturday listening to that theme music.
We were just discussing that off air about how it needs to be the ringtones of all our phones, but we'd never answer our phones. We'd just hang up on people all the time. Just so they can call us. Again.
I mean, to be honest, I could do with a good excuse not to answer my phone. So I think people would understand at that point. So I'm down. I'm doing it. That's going to be added as my ringtone later today, I think.
I'll send you the MP3, the source file, so you can have a little bit. How was Christmas for you, buddy? How was Christmas and New Year?
Yeah, it was good. It was so. Unfortunately, my wee ones who will probably be watching if they're awake, unfortunately had COVID over Christmas. So,
oh no!
Yeah, so it was a bit of a sort of a damp squib in a way. Didn't get to see them beforehand, saw them after. So things were all over the place a wee bit, but it was nice though. It was chilled.
Yeah.
And got some gaming time in, and it was lovely. I got a gift for Christmas. I've got to mention it. My dad got me the Lego Iron Man head, which is amazing. It's sat just there on my shelf, and it's awesome. But it's the first Christmas in a few years where I've been sat putting together Lego that wasn't for one of the kids. So I had a massive nostalgia wave hit while I was sat there doing it. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So, how was yours?
It was really good, I have to say. I was fortunate enough to get a good amount of time off from work. I was still technically on holiday. I start back on Monday. I'm not looking forward to that, but I kind of am at the same time. But yeah, the Christmas break was so kind of chill and relaxing. I had my parents over for a few days, which was really great. Obviously the grandchild for them was buzzing on Christmas morning. Yeah. He's 14 months now, so he still doesn't really understand like Christmas or Santa Claus or anything like that. But I think next year, I think he probably will. But he was still loving all of the excitement, and like he knew something was going on. He knew like, what are all these decorations that I can rip off the tree? All these new things that I can terrorize the dog with, all this kind of stuff, and all these new cardboard boxes that I get to have fun with and get stuck into and tear apart and eat, because he's a cardboard eater for some reason. I don't know why. Give him a cardboard box and he'll eat it. But it was such a great time. I even got like this wonderful dad cardigan from my lovely wife, and it's super comfy. I love it. I haven't stopped wearing it. So all streams and all podcasts, it's not quite smoking jacket. It's like dad cardigan equivalent of a smoking jacket. If that makes sense. So it's just basically, this is going to have to be like the wardrobe for the podcast and streaming going forward, I think. Maybe.
It's something, you hit a certain age and you start to look at cardigans Because I've noticed
Yes.
that. Because I obviously, I quite often wear a shirt over a t-shirt. So I've got a whole bunch of these. I mean, I don't know why. I only ever wear black, but I seem to have ended up with a whole bunch of these slightly more colourful or at least more bright shirts that I don't tend to wear unless I'm wearing them over a t-shirt. But I'm getting the age now where I'm like, I might have to upgrade this to something in wool. So we shall see.
I think you're right. It is gradual when you hit a certain age, and I don't know about you, but for me, it started with slippers in my 30s. Like mid 30s, I was starting to really look at like tweed slippers or other types of slippers, like llama lined, fur lined slippers, and that was the thing. I started going through slippers. I thought these is my tootsies are so comfy and warm, and I love this. And now it's cardigans. So that's the slope. That's the slope you go down.
I never wear slippers. I've always had a weird thing about slippers. I put them on and I sit there and then I think, why am I wearing shoes? And I take them off. And I say this realizing that I'm actually wearing my boots now, which I don't know why. So I got up, got dressed for the show, pulled my boots on, and thought, well, I'm not doing it outside, but I already had them on by then. So, but never wear slippers. But I do have I have a thing for dressing gowns. And I overheat constantly. Yeah. I mean, I'm a gentleman of carriage, and I'm built for winter. But for some reason, and I would quite happily sit in my house all year round, heating off, every window open. I like it cold.
Yeah.
But I like it cold, but then I put on a dressing gown because they're and then I'm sat there thinking, I am boiling to death, but by God, I am soft and cuddly at the moment, so I'm not changing.
You were soft and cuddly without the dressing gown, though, Jamie.
Well, this is why I've grown in my winter coat. So
yeah. See, for me, that's interesting because for me, dressing gowns is a little bit too far in the direction of like loungewear going to bed. So I'm a cardigan man over a dressing gown man, but I do like a nice dressing gown just the same.
I think you found the sensible middle ground, whereas I'm still sweating in a corner in my Guinness dressing gown, thinking it's really nice. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself.
Guinness, so it's corporate branded.
I had one for years that was because for years I was a collector of Breweriana, so I had masses of assorted merchandise from different drinks brands. But I think you play enough darts and you live enough of a misspent youth in the pubs of my hometown, and you end up with a lot of this stuff. And someone bought me a Guinness dressing gown one year, and I was like, "Oh, this is lovely, really comfy." And eventually, last year, I retired it. It was just falling apart. And I thought, that's gone, and I'll get myself a new one. And I didn't. I didn't buy a new dressing gown, and I'd broken the cycle. I was like, I'm now no longer too hot. And then for Christmas, my grandmother sent me a Guinness dressing gown, and it is the softest thing I have ever held in my hands, which is a really weird sentence now I think about it. But still, and it's lovely. And so now I'm back on the dressing gown train. I nearly did the show this morning in my pajamas and dressing gown, but I thought, nah, it's not a look.
See, now I'm thinking, because I'm thinking of the Guinness colours, and now I'm thinking that you must look like an alpha penguin or something, and then the black and white Guinness colours.
An awful lot of their merch is in some way black and white. The dressing gown is just black with a logo on it, because I think they realise it's like, no, we don't need to make them look like a domino. We'll just.
You could have a white T-shirt on underneath it to give you the emperor penguin kind of look, right?
It is true. I could fully embrace the look, definitely. But
Jamie, what the hell are we talking about?
I'm not nearly enough caffeine yet. That's what it is. We'll get
100%. So the first show back for 2022. Oh my gosh, we were going to be doing, instead of doing what a lot of kind of content and publications do. They do like in like December, just before Christmas, like their wrap up of the year about their favorite games, the best games, and all this kind of stuff that they've played of that year. I wanted to do kind of the same, but our first show back was going to be that. Like for January 1st, the year is properly done for 2021. Nothing coming out on the 29th or the 30th of December. So we've got the whole 12 months to look back on and reflect on and just shoot the shit about our favorite kind of gaming experiences, games that we played. And I was even thinking about this. It's like, we want to obviously chat about the games that came out last year, but it doesn't even have to be games that came out last year. It's just like, if we played it for the first time last year, then we want to obviously kind of talk about it and stuff like that. And I saw a lot of discourse online about kind of complaining that 2021 wasn't a good year for games because a lot of stuff got moved and delayed into 2022. That's even if they're going to make 2022, they may even delay further. But I don't know how you feel about this, but I have to disagree, because I was looking at my kind of short list of things that I played and most of which I completed. And I got to say, like, 2021 was still a banger year of a lot of great games and a lot of great content that came out.
Oh yeah, there were some really good titles. I mean, I think there are some people who, and which is entirely fair, is how they consume media. But I think there are some people who they need new constantly. And
yeah.
And I also understand, like, if you've been waiting for a release and that. Never mind. Sorry, mine went to a different place. If you've been waiting for a particular title to be released, and then it gets pushed, obviously it's disappointing, and it's easy to sort of remember the negative bit without thinking about all the other stuff that you played or that came out at that time. So
sure,
I get it. But no, I think there was some really good stuff out last year. There was also an awful lot of really good stuff that, as you said, I found for the first time or finally got around to blowing the dust off of and thinking, right, now's the time to play this. I need to finally get this one in the bag. So
yeah,
I enjoyed a lot of 2021. There were a few disappointments for me as well, unfortunately, in the gaming sphere, but there's always going to be.
I know.
But no, there's a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff.
So what to kick us off then, what's the first one that you want to talk about and gush over, or even say like this was disappointing? What's your first one?
Okay, I'll get it out of the way and attract the ire of half the internet and attract the support of the other half. Halo Infinite.
Ooh, yep.
Now, I have not played, and this is shocking to some, I have not played the campaign yet.
I think I know why.
I'm waiting for multiplayer. Halo has been the first time I sat down and played Halo or experienced Halo at all. I was watching my friend play it over his shoulder, sat at his place, and that was Combat Evolved.
Yeah,
and that was why I got an Xbox. I watched that. I was like, right, I need this in my life. This looks amazing.
Yep.
And then every Halo game, I have played the campaign co-op, every single one.
Yeah.
Same thing with Gears, and there are certain games that I will only play on the hardest difficulty, which is Halo, and I will only play co-op at first, and then I'll replay it on my own afterwards. When Infinite was announced, I was so excited, and I watched the first E3 teaser with the hood back and all of that, and I just clawed my way out of my seat, up the wall, and onto the ceiling I was absolutely over the moon. And then it took a while, and that was all fine. I don't tend to rage about games getting pushed because there's usually a good reason, so it's fine. Yeah. And then it dropped, and we were only getting the multiplayer, and I was a little bit disappointed for me personally. So I was like, well, I'm not going to get to play the campaign until that eventually rolls out in co-op.
Yeah.
So we hit the multiplayer, and it was not a positive experience.
What?
Which was so sad.
Really?
Yeah, it was, because I was enjoying the gameplay. The gameplay is solid. It feels like Halo with a little double spot espresso in its belly. It's nice. I really like it. Yeah. There were a few issues. Excuse me. There were a few issues with there was some collision detection issues which made some games frustrating. There are some cheaters out there, unfortunately, which any game that's got PC and crossplay, you're always going to get it. So there are some cheaters out there, which again is frustrating. I can live with it, but those were annoyances. But the overwhelming feeling surrounding it from some sectors with regards to the monetization and not to knock monetization, but the way they've done it. and
Right.
the disparity between what was promised, because we were told, Reach like levels of customization. That was one of the, and Halo Reach
Yeah.
is possibly my favorite entry in the series for multiplayer. It
Right.
just, it felt good, and I was playing that literally every day for months and months and months.
Yeah.
And Halo Infinite hasn't quite delivered on that. Now, this led to sort of a lot of negative feeling around it, and then there was a lot of infighting from people saying, "Well, I'm really enjoying it," and other people
Mhm.
saying, "Well, just because you're enjoying it doesn't mean there aren't problems," which there are, and other people who just slated it, and the whole thing, it just sort of killed the buzz a bit. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I stepped away from it for a little bit. I am happy to say that the past couple of days I have jumped back on with one of my mates and been playing it, and all of that's died down. I don't care about that stuff as much. Again, on a personal level, as much as there are certain things I would, like to gently suggest to 343 that they do or don't do. And yeah, it's really, really good fun. So I love the game that's there. There's a lot that surrounds it that sort of
Yeah.
took
That's
away
that's
from the
fair.
experience of it.
That's fair. I mean, the progression system is really brutal, I have to say. I
Mm.
mean, I remember when, like, way back when the Xbox One launched, and then in that launch window, the big multiplayer game that they were pushing was Titanfall. And I
Yes.
remember that game was like the huge kick in the balls to the multiplayer scene and the FPS multiplayer scene that the genre needed, the industry needed. And I remember that felt like unlike anything else at the time. And the progression system in that felt like you were constantly being rewarded just for playing, and
Yeah.
it felt amazing. And ultimately that carried over eventually into Titanfall 2 as well. You just felt that progress bar was just constantly going up all the time, and you were constantly getting little challenges, little rewards, and it was amazing. And rest its soul, Titanfall 2. I think it's still hanging on there, but it's still probably my favorite multiplayer shooter. Certainly this generation, last generation. But I think the numbers are quite difficult to kind of get a good kind of consistent batch of games. But when Infinite dropped, it was in like that kind of early access kind of period because they dropped it early. It was like a shadow drop, if you remember, before the
Yeah.
game I was supposed to come out in December. And so I hadn't touched it when it kind of shadow dropped. I was playing other things. My head was elsewhere. I didn't want to jump into competitive stuff. And then I did play it when the main kind of campaign dropped. And I jumped into multiplayer after a little bit of campaign. I have to say, I'm kind of in love with the campaign to a degree, but we'll get to that as well because again, there's things I don't like about that, the new format that it's taken, but there's also things I do love about it. But multiplayer side, I instantly kind of clicked with it. I think it's kind of what you said. It's like it plays better than I think a lot of previous Halo games.
Yeah.
And it just feels amazing to actually play and to jump around and to not even grapple, although the grapple is a lot of fun should you pick it up and use it and you're skilled enough to actually use it as its own kind of weapon. I'm not. I'm terrible at that. But like the maps feel great, although again, this is the thing where you can chip away at what we've got, but the things that we've got are really highly polished. But again, like the number of maps are pretty light. But again, saying that, do we need a lot of maps? Because then it keeps those maps highly populated, and therefore the games are always going to be there, rather than spreading the user base across 20 maps and then there's hardly any games per map. So I kind of see the point there. And it took me ages I think it was Al that actually mentioned, it's like, yeah, but there's no Slayer playlist, there's no Team Deathmatch playlist. And I'm like, oh shit, yeah. It didn't even register because I was just going into quick play all the time, which was like the round robin of like Oddball, Capture the Flag, Slayer, and I didn't even realize that all of the playlists were just not there. And then I think, oh shit, it really is a bare bones multiplayer package. If you look at the previous games as what's meant to be there, like SWAT and all of the custom game modes and everything like that, I thought, whoa, there really is. But saying that, I only was playing quick play because I kind of liked the rotation. And
Yeah.
I was having so much fun. I thought, this has got me right back into competitive multiplayer gaming because it's Halo and it feels amazing. And I'm having such a good time with my friends. Basically, we're playing every night, and that's unheard of for our little group of friends. It's like all of us were on every single night playing Halo. So that right there was amazing. But I totally get where... Yeah, but there's all this stuff missing. There's where the hell is campaign co-op? Where's all the playlists? Where's the progression system that is not a huge kick in the balls every single time to want to keep playing? And I understand Halo was always not about rewards and progression systems, and you play Halo because it's Halo and it's fucking amazing every single game. And I still get that, and Halo Infinite has that in spades. But at the same time, whenever I see that little progress bar going, and it's like barely moving, I thought, oh, come on, I'm never going to get through the season pass.
It's incredibly frustrating. And I said, the thing is as well, I think I heard Halo Reach mentioned too many times in the run-up. And the way that Reach worked, like every day you got new challenges, plus you had weekly challenges. Those challenges would give you a whack of XP. And you had all of the content that was there, like all of the customization options were all in the game, and you were constantly going, I'm this close to getting that new shoulder pad, I'm this close to... I mean, I cannot remember what rank I ended Reach on, but it was high. I was getting there to the final sort of few that were at the top with Eclipse and Nova and all these shiny little badges. and the rank in Reach, the other thing was that I there's two types of ranking in games. There's the one where it's skill-based, and there's the one where it's just how much time have I put into the game. Skill-based is great, and it's nice to sit there and think, I finally hit goal, or I finally, I've played my way up. But there is something nice about having a rank that you look at and think, God, that means I've wasted hours and hours and hours of my life in this. And I quite enjoy that, and unlocking stuff with it. And in Halo, like, no matter how much time I've put in Infinite, it's just occasionally, bink, bink, and the challenges are a little bit spotty, and so the progression isn't there. And that's, again, it's a lot of little things that I could have lived with individually, or a couple of them, and they all sort of piled together. And with the buzzkill that it gave surrounding the game for other people, some of the people that I play with were not loving it, and it just sort of, and I could see why. I didn't disagree with them. I could see why it was affecting their experience. And you don't want that. You want... I miss the days when there were 10 of you all desperately trying to get into a game, and you're having to rotate players in and out because you haven't got enough spaces and stuff like that, because everyone's loving it. And without that feeling for Halo, for anything else, like, it doesn't matter to me. But with Halo, it's like, this isn't as much fun as I remember. And it was a little bit sad. But like I said, having gone back to it recently with some of that dying down, yes, it's and the core gameplay for it, for the multiplayer, is just awesome. Like, it really is awesome. They've nailed it on that front. Yeah, but bit of a sort of a 5 out of 10 experience at first for what should be like a 9 out of 10 game at least. So it's it is what it is. But it was a bit sad.
Okay, let's flip the conversation and go for the positive. What's been the game that has been your banger standout title for last year?
Oh, see, I was thinking about this when we talked about what we were going to talk about. I was thinking about this because a lot of the games that I play, it's like, I mean, one of the games I've really still love and have had some great fun playing is Phasmophobia, and I was like, that would go near the top of my list for best games played last year. But there's one sneaking in under the radar, which just made it in, and I mean just made it into last year for me. Came out last year, but just made it into me getting to play it last year, which is It Takes Two.
Yeah,
which me and Al have been playing, and I am absolutely loving, because I love co-op gaming, and obviously this is a game which is made purely for co-op, and we played A Way Out last year as well.
I was going to ask you, had you played the first one? Yeah.
Yep, and it was absolutely brilliant. sections of it. There was a bit where we're climbing back to back up a tunnel, and you're having to time it right, and which for us went hilariously wrong a number of times before we got it down. But we were playing It Takes Two. We're absolutely loving it. And the other thing as well is it's been nice to realise that we've still got that old magic a little bit, because there's not been that many co-op games that we've really got into over a lot of co-op experiences I've had over the past sort of couple of years have been stuff like survival type games and things like that. Like we went back to Don't Starve at one point during the, which is a phenomenal game. But while it's a co-op experience, but it's not that story-driven co-op, that sort of thing. So A Way Out was fantastic to play, and It Takes Two. It's been nice having that bit. We'll hit a puzzle, and we've both just done it without actually talking about it. And afterwards, we're like, we are bloody good. Like, it just makes you feel great. And it's so polished. It looks so pretty. The humor is good. The storyline's great. Absolutely blown away by it.
Yeah, I have to agree. I've only played a little bit of it. I want to get back to it with my co-op partner, but I loved A Way Out. I played that actually with our friend Sean, and it was so much fun. And It Takes Two is kind of so creative and so like whimsical and so well thought out. Like each encounter is so well thought out, and you get the vibes of like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids quite a lot in the game as well, with the tool shed and the different parts of going around the house. But because you're tiny, you're this little character, and you got to work together, like with using vacuum cleaners and garden hoses and nail guns and stuff like that. We were joking about this actually off camera about how fun it is. It is like the Portal 2 style of co-op game, which I loved so much. It's so fun, where you can really troll your co-op partner and say, okay, press this lever when I just before I'm about to land, and then you just like don't press it, so you fall to your death. Or like you were mentioning the nail gun of like you got to jump, and then before you kind of get to the bit, the partner has to fire the nail gun, so the nail is there in the wall for you to then latch onto, and you can remove it just as they're about to catch it, and all this kind of stuff. It's hilarious.
Yes, you can't you, Alan? So I know he's working out there, and he dropped me to my death twice just testing. But yeah, it's part of the fun of games like that, and it's nice to play a game that it doesn't really have consequences per se. Like you can die, and then you might have to go back a little bit and just redo a little section. But it's regular checkpoints, and you're not on a time limit or running out of lives or anything like that. So you can just keep throwing yourself at it. So when you do hit the odd bits, we had a couple of moments where we're like, how the hell did we get past this? And it took us a couple of minutes to sort of twig what was going on. Especially when you're playing it, we're quite often playing later at night, because obviously with Alan at work and kids and all that sort of stuff, it's quite often you sit down and it's later in the evening before you even get to start. And I famously rarely sleep, and so I'm constantly tired, whereas Alan needs sleep and is often tired by that point should be going to bed. So between the two of us and our sleep-deprived brains, we'll sit there, and there are moments where we look at it, and you can tell we're both thinking, I don't even remember how to press buttons on this thing in front of the PC. I'm not sure what this is. I will say to anyone thinking of playing it, because it's on Games Pass, it's on Steam. It's actually 50% off on Steam at the minute. I noticed yesterday, or Al noticed yesterday. I mentioned
Oregon. That's great.
But for God's sake, if you have the option, I would recommend playing it with a controller, because I play it with mouse and keyboard, and it is fucking hard work.
Why would you do that? What's wrong with you?
Genuinely, because I brought one of my Xbox controllers through. Sometime in November, because I was going to be playing something, and I brought one of my Xbox controllers through, and I plugged it in, and it didn't work instantly. There was something that needed doing, and I went, balls to it, and I put it away, and I went back to mouse and keyboard, and I haven't been asked to hook one up since, because I'm an idiot. And I keep getting to games that really would benefit from me being sat there with a controller and going, fuck yeah, that's why I need this. And then, so wall jumping and stuff with the keyboard takes a little bit of adjustment. I can do it now, but yeah.
Yeah, you just like the pain of using a mouse and keyboard. You've got the claw so well kind of muscle memoried in that you can't hold a controller.
I used to, I remember, sounds like a name, but at Eurogamer one year when Mortal Kombat 10 had just come out, I was talking to Derek Kirchick from NetherRealm, and I mentioned to him that I played Mortal Kombat. My first experience of Mortal Kombat was Mortal Kombat 2 on a PC with a mouse and keyboard.
Oh my god!
And he said his was essentially the same experience. He said, and it was horrible. I said, I don't know, I kind of miss it. And he looked at me like I had slapped his child. Like, it was just like no, get a controller, you fool. And he then taught me how to play Mortal Kombat 10 and kicked the living crap out of me with a controller. So he's not wrong. But it's, it's a painful experience with some games, but I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like for fighting games. It's kind of the equivalent of a hitbox for fighting games, and there's a reason hitboxes were banned for competition players because they're so accurate, and you can pull off the combination of keys very, very quickly, and there's no. I guess like because you're rotating a thumbstick, or if you've got a fight stick, you're rotating the stick. You can actually just literally like you're playing the piano. You can plink the keys very, very quickly and pull off moves. And you're like, whoa, hold on a minute, hitboxes ain't allowed anymore. we gotta stop this.
There is a definite advantage if you're better than me, which because I'm terrible with stuff like that. So I've never been a fighting game. I've never been gifted when it comes to fight. I love them, but I've never been gifted when it comes to them.
Yeah,
I have a tendency, and I'll sit and study the move list. I'm like, right, I have every combo and special move, and even the fatalities. They're all locked away in here until the controls are actually at my fingertips. I'm like, I can remember kick. I know there is a kick button, and that's it. And then it's just a case of pushing someone in a corner and kicking them in the solar plexus until they. Nah, I don't know.
Oh man. Right, so I'm gonna talk about the game that I think I've been swithering on this one for so long as to what would be like my favorite game that I played last year. And well, my favorite game is actually going to be on another podcast, and it's got to be Dark Souls. But anyway, that's like 10 years old, and that's because I really got into it for the first time before Christmas, and then I finished it just after Christmas, and it was phenomenal. I really clicked with it, and that's the first time I've ever clicked with that game. But we're going to do a whole other podcast just about the Soulsborne games. So I'm taking that out of the equation. I got to give mine to Hitman 3. Hitman 3 came out in January, and I think a lot of people have forgotten about Hitman 3. But honestly, that game is so much fun. It is so polished. It gives you so much flexibility for how you want to approach the different assassination targets. But even more so than that, I think what I love about it is as a package, you know how we were talking about Halo Infinite being a kind of bare bones package, but incredibly polished, right?
Yeah.
Hitman 3 is the complete opposite to that, where it's insanely polished. The graphics in the new game engine for that game are amazing. But if you own Hitman 1 and 2, you can essentially download them into the Hitman 3 like menu and package, and you get to play all of the previous missions in the new game engine. So they all get upgraded with better graphics and the new lighting models and everything like that. So that right there makes the package of Hitman 3 incredible. Just incredible. Yeah. But then if you consider how intricate the level designs and the sandboxes are for Agent 47 going for his targets, the replayability in these games are just off the charts, man. They're so much funny. There's so much fun. And how many games can you say you can pick up a banana and throw it at the person and knock them unconscious and then steal their uniform? Like just that right there. makes for such kind of hilarity and creativity that it's just bonkers. And that's the humor side of IO Interactive, the Hitman series has always had. That's why I could never go to any other developer. And it's why Hitman is so much fun to play. I maybe need to like stream it or something, because it is hilarious. And it's like all of the different little emergent story elements that kind of crop up from the characters doing their routines and their patterns in the game. There's so many that you'll never see it on a single on your first run through a level. And then you kind of unlock shortcuts that are there for like subsequent runs. And man, it's just so good. It is so good. And the whole thing looks amazing. And it's the comedy factor though. It's like this character, Agent 47, we all know is very stoic, very like po-faced, very serious. But then you dress him up in like a panda costume for like a mascot at a football match or like an F1 race or something like that. And he's just like got his really kind of stiff walk. And then when you start punching out security guards dressed as like a giant panda or a giant costume, it's so comical and hilarious. And it's like, I gotta give it to Hitman 3. There was so many good games this year. But Hitman 3, just for the complete package and what they've honed with that franchise is just amazing. And of course, it gets me super excited for what they can do with the James Bond license as well. I think that's going to be really cool to see what they can do there. I'm assuming it's obviously not going to be, getting a little bit off track, but I'm assuming it's not going to be Hitman, but you're just 007, because it can't be. There's got to be like maybe like Uncharted kind of bombast moments and set pieces, but there's still the suave covert spy goes to infiltrate like this high ambassador's dinner party or stuff, stuff like that, and bugging different conversations and stuff. I don't know, but for Hitman 3, so good. And I really recommend checking that out if anybody hasn't checked it out yet, because it's the flexibility to just kill people or maim or hide their bodies, dress up as them, to pretty much anybody in the level. And they're so, like, the crowd system in that game is amazing. There's one level where you're in Berlin and it's this kind of, it's out in the cuds, and it's just this warehouse which is a German rave party, and you got to infiltrate this to retrieve some intel, I think it is. I can't quite remember the specifics now, but like, the place is jumping, man, and there's like the dance floor is packed, and they're all dancing, and the rave music is going, and you've got to like sneak through the crowd, and there's other bits to it as well, and it's just like, man, the crowd system in these games are just insane because they all feel dynamic, and they're all like rendering now on the new consoles at such a high fidelity, and then you can just scare the shit out of them by knocking somebody out and in the dance floor. Like the panic system, I guess, from the crowd is hilarious as well. It's just so much fun to mess with. Like, of all the games that you want to just have like these emergent experiences with and just mess around, kind of like an arcane game where it's all these different kind of systems. It's a sandbox, but you can do it however you want. Or like Metal Gear Solid, I think like Phantom Pain was like this huge sandbox of just dicking around. Yeah, it's like that, but it's so much fun because of the comedy factor of what you can do with it. It's I could talk about it for way longer. And we've only got 20 minutes left on the show, Jamie. Oh my god, we've been rambling.
Hitman 3 has slipped me by. I haven't played it yet, and I must. I love the Hitman games, and some of the earlier ones I played to absolute death back in the day. So it's definitely on the list. The pile of shame grows and grows, and I'm never ever knocking anything off. I'm not gaining any ground, because every time I finally pick up a game and go, right, I'm going to play that now, I turn around and there's 6 more that have appeared on top of the pile for recommendations, and I'm not getting there. But Hitman 3 is definitely on the list, because I played a fair bit of Hitman 2. And just really enjoyed it. Like I said, I love a game that you can. I have a real thing for a game that you can kind of create your own game within, because you get so lost in, you have a target and you have to take them out and all of that, but then you spend 6 hours replaying the same levels. You're like, I wonder if I can I wonder if I can throw him over the thing and have him land on the thing, and then you sort of you get that. We used to do it with GTA back in the day. We would forego the story. Excuse me, forego the story completely. And you would have, we used to call them rampage sessions, where it was just about seeing how much carnage you could cause in the least amount of time with the least effort. And my mate still holds the record for parking a quad bike on a bridge and just walking away and just letting the carnage commence. And it was absolutely incredible. So it's, yeah, like Hitman's got that element to it. Like you say, the replayability and the just dicking around, but in a really solid game with that's actually got a lot to do as well. So Hitman 3, I'll bump it up the list. I'll shift its position a few on the pile.
Yeah, and another one you got to bump up your list, buddy, is Guardians of the Galaxy. That's from Eidos Montreal, I think it was the Deus Ex team that had done this Marvel game. Talk about the most amazing of surprises. That was, oh my god, like everybody that I know of, all my friends and contact lists that have played this game are kind of the same as me, where they just had the most Cheshire Cat smile on their face throughout the entire experience, because it's one of those things where unfortunately nobody was expecting anything good about this game because of a certain other Marvel property, which was like a big AAA game experience. And I think nobody was expecting this to be any good. And trailers were kind of not really doing it justice as well. You think, oh, it's kind of silly. I don't really know if it's going to be any good. Holy crap. This game was so much fun and such a wonderful surprise that it just set out to do what I wanted to do with being a linear, really great story-based single-player game. And it absolutely crushed it. And talk about really nailing your source material of the characters, especially because the majority of the player base, I would go as far as to say, they only know the Guardians of the Galaxy from the MCU movies. So that's the only touch point that they really have. And to be able to create their own version of these characters, which actually feels even better, I'd say, than the MCU movies. And again, no disrespect to the MCU movies, they're amazing. But these characters are so good. And the banter between them all, the backstories that you get to explore with them all, is such a surprise. And I had such a blast playing it. I was like, this is amazing. It's exactly what I wanted from a Marvel's like Avengers game. Unfortunately, didn't get that, but we got it here with Guardians of the Galaxy. And I love that they did this kind of a Mass Effect style of gameplay where you're like Peter Quill, Commander Shepard, right? You're on the front. You're basically issuing commands to your squad, but you're also dealing damage as well. You know what I mean? But it's mostly about issuing commands to your squad mates. And it's like Mass Effect, but Marvel's Mass Effect. And it's so much fun. And Rocket is hilarious. Drax is hilarious. And my God, the soundtrack is freaking amazing as well. It's exactly what you would expect from the movies, but it's like all those best, like from our childhood, Jamie, because we're 80s babies. So all of that banging tunes, like tracks from the 70s and stuff as well, like White Snake and AC/DC and Billy Idol and all of the tunes are just freaking amazing. But I'm not kidding you. See when you're in a boss encounter and you do the huddle up, and then Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up starts belting out of the speakers as you're taking out this huge like tentacled lizard thing, or not lizard thing, but like huge monstrosity skyscraper size of boss. It is fucking amazing. And it's moments like that. It's like when the music kicks in, it's like they know exactly what they've wanted to do here, and they've nailed it so much. And what a surprise! What an amazing surprise of a game.
It's an interesting one. I think it highlights a thing that I've noticed over the years, that I think a lot of people are occasionally, guilty is the wrong word, but a lot of people are occasionally guilty of a game will take them by surprise because they haven't. I have a tendency to sit here and I'll go looking for information about stuff. So I'll hear about a game coming out and I'll go and deliberately read about it. I think some people, if it's not thrown at them, they miss the the buzz sort of thing, which is fine. You know, not everyone wants to sit there and go deep diving to try and find tidbits of like, I think that's absolutely fine. But I've noticed it with a lot of different media. Like, I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, "Is Hawkeye actually any good?" I was like, "Yeah, it's great." Although I still haven't watched the last episode, but I was like, "Yeah, it's great. I'm loving it. It's really fantastic. Great character. I've really done a lot with it." I was like, "Yeah, it's just not really been any hype around it." I was like, "All I see is trailers. There's loads of stuff."
It's been a lot of hype, yeah.
And I think it's the internet and the way it works these days. If you're not looking for certain things, after a while, it stops showing you certain things. And we all know that algorithm has a tendency to fuck with us on a daily basis. So,
yeah.
And I think Guardians, for me, weirdly, was one of the first cases I've really noticed that happen to me. I didn't, like you said, didn't expect a hell of a lot from it. The Avengers game, obviously, the buzz died quick. And and I've not played that yet either. And I probably will get around to it because it's got Marvel in the title, so I'm a sucker for it, so I'll give it a shot. But
yeah.
So yeah, Guardians just sort of escaped me, and I didn't really hear anything about it. And if you don't hear anything about a thing, you can kind of automatically think, that's probably not that good then. Someone would be talking about it. And I never really thought of it. And then, oddly enough, with you mentioning that, in the past couple of weeks, every other YouTube advert has been Guardians of the Galaxy. And I keep looking at it thinking, that actually looks kind of... And then I talk myself out of it because I'm like, no, I don't need to add another game to the pile of stuff I'm not bloody playing. But
I know.
It does look really good. So I see what you mean about it being sort of out of left field hit.
It is. And one kind of pro tip I would suggest to anybody who wants to jump into the game, but is maybe concerned if they've heard that, yeah, but Peter Quill is like apparently really weak in the game. You're not supposed to really kill enemies with Peter Quill. You're supposed to use the other Guardians. What I would say, there's a lot of customizability settings in the game menus. And one of them is to actually make Peter Quill, his damage output much, much higher and have the skill cooldowns to be much faster as well. I would honestly suggest ramping those up. It doesn't have to be to the maximum, but certainly increase them. And when I did that, I started having way more fun with the game because I was still playing it like a traditional third-person kind of shooter, but also issuing commands. But then I was getting access to the special combo moves like much faster. The tickover was much faster, and I was having such a blast with it. Whereas on default, I felt a little bit like this is a chore. Like combat is a chore. I'm not doing any damage as Peter Quill, and I'm having to wait quite a while for the cooldowns to then Rocket to do his other move, and then Gamora to do her move. Whereas if you go into the settings and just ramp those up, you have such a blast because then you're just like almost like not quite spamming out the moves, but you're having such a blast with just issuing commands and doing some decent damage with Peter Quill. Honestly, that was my preferred way to play it. But again, if you want to go on default, check that out first. But I felt that, oh my god, this like heavy enemy is a real friggin' chore. I'm hardly taking any health off here, and the cooldowns are taking ages to cool down, and so I can use them again. But as soon as I ramped them up, it was such a blast. I was zipping around the battlefield, throwing out commands, doing some decent amount of damage. And there are times that there's like tons of enemies coming at you. So if you're hardly doing any damage and waiting for cooldowns, it can be a real friggin' chore.
Yeah.
But ramping that up, I had a smile on my face from beginning to end. And then again, we mentioned the music, and then like Billy Idol's White Wedding will blast out as we're doing combos and stuff like that as well, right? It's just amazing. Like it can be a real like moment of video game like bliss where it just all kind of fuses together, all like the music, the combos, the banter of the characters, and such a wonderful surprise of a game. Highly recommend checking that out as well.
Another one on the list.
Add it to the list, Jamie. Add it to the list. That is, you're going to be next week's show is just going to be you sitting behind boxes of games, and you're like the eyes peeking up over the top, and that's your pile of shame list.
It'll just be one arm sticking out from under the pile, to be fair, at this point, just grasping for any sort of handhold.
Left 4 Dead style of the hand coming up, the zombie hand.
Oh, yeah. Which, there's another game from last year, was Back for Blood.
Did you play much of that? I played a little bit of the beta, and whilst I enjoyed it, I was never a massive Left 4 Dead fan, but I can obviously see, the lineage is obviously there. It's the same studio. This is essentially Left 4 Dead 3 by another name, and I can see a lot of people having fun with it. But so did you play much of that?
Yeah, played quite a lot of it. Really enjoyed it. Someone asked me, it's like, so should I buy it? And I was like, yeah, man, get Games Pass. And I was like, is it not worth buying? I was like, there's not quite enough game there to feel worth the price tag for me to recommend it to someone. Now, I really enjoy playing on Games Pass, and I played it for quite a bit, and then I haven't gone back to it, and I'm not feeling that, I need to finish that. I'm just like, someone turned around and said, do you want to play some back? Yeah, I'll jump in. So, but that being said, that's just, longevity is what it is. But for the time I was playing it, it was just, it was nostalgic, gory, nightmarish hell. And there's some really nice bits in it. There's a mechanic in one level where you're basically having to load a howitzer and blast open this cave that has collapsed. And while you're doing it, you're being constantly attacked by wave after wave of zombies. So you've got your mates there trying to defend you. And the one, my favorite part of the entire game was the part that I was constantly terrified was because I streamed it for a bit, and I was constantly terrified I was going to get banned from Twitch because you're in. You go to this. There's a diner and there's a jukebox, and they've very much in a nod to Shaun of the Dead started playing "Don't Stop Me Now" on the jukebox.
Tune.
You have to keep the jukebox playing. So I had turned off. I had been told it's like, there's music in Back 4 Blood that will get you copyright strikes. Be careful. I was like, okay. So I turned all the music off, and I was playing it with no music because I was like, just in case. And then we get to that. But this is part of the core mechanic of that level. You can't turn the music off. So it plays no matter what your music volume's out of that. So you're constantly turning the thing back on. And then every time it starts playing again, you get attacked by more zombies. But you have to give a distraction for these school buses of people escaping. And I'm just sat there like, please don't notice Twitch. Please don't notice Twitch. Please don't notice Twitch. So got away with it. That was fine. But it's really good fun, and there's some really nice guns in it and some really nice weaponry, and you get to just pop zombie heads left, right, and center. And they've added some good stuff with the cards and things as well, so you get like little buffs and debuffs that you can apply and things like that. So really, really solid. It's on Games Pass, and which is still my favorite thing ever. It's well worth playing. If you ever played Left 4 Dead and enjoyed it, it's well worth playing. I don't know if it's quite enough game to buy unless you. I know quite a few people who play a game on Games Pass, and if they really like it, they'll then buy it, so they've got it forever and support the devs and that, which is absolutely fair. If you enjoy it, yes, but I would definitely recommend playing it on Games Pass or going around a mate's place and sitting down and having a go before because there hits a point where you're like, there's only so many ways I can kill zombies before I'm done killing zombies.
Well, that's the great thing about Game Pass, isn't it? It's like it's giving you access to all these games that you may not play or you may not drop X pounds. Could be £50, could be £60, whatever. On a game that you don't know if you're gonna click with, and Game Pass is just like a trial service for a lot of games and a lot of a way to discover these developers and these little indie darlings a lot of the time as well, and you're getting to sample so much awesome content. I actually forgot that Back 4 Blood was a day and date release on Game Pass, and I know just recently Aliens Fireteam Elite, which is a co-op shooter in the Aliens universe, that's on Game Pass now. And I think this month was a bit of a banger month actually, because Mass Effect Legendary Edition, that's the remaster collection, that's on Game Pass as well. That's kind of that's wild. Like I think the game of the year is Game Pass. Just as an entity, that's the award, right? It's crazy.
It's phenomenal. Fireteam Elite, I've played. Me, Alan, and a friend of ours, Ed, we played it for a while. That's really good fun.
Yeah. Were you quoting the movies like we always have to do whenever we're watching Aliens?
Constantly. And Aliens is Al's favourite movie. And so it's quite interesting playing because we're all quoting it, and then he's coming out with quotes that are very niche, very applicable. So I was quite proud of him. So, but yeah, that's a brilliant game. I've got Mass Effect Legendary Edition downloading, although EA Play was having some issues last night. So whether it's downloaded or not, we shall see. But because I've never played them ever. So I'm downloading them. Alan has told me that I'm recording that's going on YouTube. So that's happening. So it's going to be my first ever playthrough of Mass Effect, and I'm just going to play the whole lot. But even little games like we found one a couple of nights ago that popped up. It's just been added called Ember, which I probably wouldn't have slid across my radar, but it's a little co-op. It very much sort of got that sort of gang beasts, rubber bandits type look to it, and human fall flat, that sort of physics and things.
Yeah,
you play as firefighters, and you have to go in. And save
I know
people.
this game. I want this to come to console so badly because it looks amazingly fun. And you got to put out the fires and rescue, and you can throw them out of the windows, like literally ragdoll throw them as long as you've got a mattress below or something soft. You can lob them out the window to kind of save them.
It's brilliant. We played it we just had a little half-hour session on it last night. It was the first time playing it, and but yeah, that was I smashed open a window with my axe, grabbed hold of a guy, threw him through the window, and then stole his washing machine. I was like, yeah, this is okay by me.
How do you steal a washing machine? Those things have a concrete base. Those things are heavy. How do you steal a washing machine?
Not in Ember. You just pick them up and chuck them in the back of a truck. I mean, you can. It's quite cool as well. There are some little mechanics to it. So you once you've rescued you're rescuing the people, but you can also steal their stuff for extra money. But if they spot you doing it, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna report you to the." But we notice that you can put it in the truck, and they'll be like, "I'm gonna report you," and you take it out, and they go, "Ah, good, you're not stealing it. You can put it in the rescue zone." Back in the truck, they're like, "How dare you take my thing out of the truck? Oh, thank you for saving us." So, and there's like cash on the levels, and you have to build up cash to buy. It's like franchised firefighting, so you have to buy upgrades and equipment and stuff. So it's just I don't know how much we'll end up playing it, but it was really good fun to play. But I never would have played if it wasn't on Games Pass because I hadn't even heard of it. It was there that it popped up. I was like, "Oh, this was good."
So is that PC Game Pass? I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I was badly want that to come out on console as well because it looks like it's like four firefighters all going into like the towering inferno would be so much fun, and you're out of breath trying to climb up the stairs. It's like, oh my God's sake, can we take a break before we get to the fire? That could be so much fun.
It is really good fun, and it's weird because I played Firefighting Simulator during last year. It was the first time I played that, and that was on Steam. And again, because we thought, "Oh, this will be really entertaining with us," a bunch of chuckleheads trying to put out a fire and save people, and that one's more realism based. Funny though, because it's built using the assets from Phasma. It's all. Brain.net, Unity, Unreal. It's all those sort of standard assets. And the goddamn rabbit from Phasmophobia was in one of the levels, and I let the house burn. I was like, nah. I'm saving the world here.
Brilliant. Jamie, we're now at time and we haven't even covered so many games. We're going to have to just like break this episode into 2 parts and do it and continue with it next week. So I'm going to a very, very quick list rundown of my other games that we're going to have to get into because there was Resident Evil Village, there was Psychonauts 2, there was Returnal, there was Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Kena, Bridge of Spirits. We obviously talked about It Takes Two and Guardians and Halo Infinite. So all those other games, we're going to have a deep dive. We'll try and have a deep dive on next week's show and really get into them because they are, and you've got a whole bunch of other ones as well. You mentioned Ember. You mentioned a whole bunch of awesome sounding stuff as well. Oh, so much good games, man. What a time. Yeah, what an awesome time. How lucky are we to just be gamers and have all this amazing stuff at our fingertips with things like Game Pass or Steam sales as well, which means your backlog is a mountain the size of Everest. You know, I know what Steam sales are like.
Steam sales are what makes my wallet cry. This is just
I know.
permanently empty thanks to that.
Yeah,
terrible
nothing but
stuff.
ash in there. Nothing but ash in that wallet.
And regret. just a
and sadness and
sorrow.
tears.
Gabe, why are you doing this to me?
I know. So, Jamie, thank you so much. This is your first episode as official co-host of the Weekend Catch-Up Club. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, this has been episode 64 of the Weekend Catch-Up Club podcast. If you're watching on the VOD, drop a comment, like, subscribe, and of course, follow our Twitch channel as well to actually see the show live. We'll be back next week with a continuation of our favorite games from 2021 and maybe even a little tease of ones we're looking forward to this year, but that's probably another 4 episodes that have to get into that kind of thing as well. So anyway, have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.